Well, let me tell you folks, nobody knows more about jail and prison slang than me, believe me. They say I have the best words, and I can tell you I know all the best slang. I mean, nobody knows more about this than me. It's just tremendous. First, there's the joint. That's what they call prison. And let me tell you, you don't want to end up in the joint. It's a tough place, believe me. You're locked up all the time, and you don't get to see your family and friends. It's just really bad, and you don't want to end up there. Next, I'll move on by telling you about the hole. The hole is a place in jail where they put you when you've been bad. It's not a good place. Let me tell you, it's a really bad place. It's dark and dingy, and you're all alone in there. Nobody wants to be in the hole, believe me. In addition, there's also the hole within the hole. That's when they put you in a special, extra secluded part of the hole because you've been really bad. It's just really dark and lonely, and it can mess with your head. You don't want to end up in the hole within the hole, believe me. You also have your cellies. That's short for cellmates. And let me tell you, you don't want a bad cellie. If you get stuck with a bad cellie, it can be really tough. They might steal your stuff or just be a real pain in the you-know-what. It's really important to have a good cellie, somebody you can trust. Let's talk about boneyard. That's what they call the prison graveyard, where they bury the inmates who die while they're locked up. It's a really scary place, believe me. You don't want to end up there because once you're there, you're never coming back. It's just really sad and scary. And then there's the gladiator school. That's what they call certain prisons where the inmates fight each other, sometimes to the death. It's just barbaric, and it's a really scary place to be. You don't want to end up in a gladiator school, believe me. It's just not worth it. And while I've never been there, and I never would because everyone respects me in prison, everyone, there's the rape cage. I hate to even talk about this, but it's a real thing, and it's just really terrible. It's a place where they put inmates who are vulnerable to sexual assault because they're seen as weak or easy targets. It's just really sad and horrifying, and nobody should have to go through sexual assault and having their privates grabbed against their will. And finally, there's the shank. That's a homemade knife that people in jail and prison make. It's really dangerous, let me tell you. You don't want to mess around with shanks. It's just not worth it. It's really important to stay away from that kind of stuff. So there you have it, folks. Some of the darkest and most dangerous jail and prison slang you can imagine. It's just really sad and scary, and nobody should have to experience it. But if you do, you need to be prepared, and you need to know what you're getting into. It's just a really tough and scary world, and you need to be ready for it. The slang may be colorful, but the reality is anything but. Prison is a dark and dangerous world, and the slang only scratches the surface of the horrors that await those who find themselves behind bars. So if you're ever faced with the possibility of incarceration, take heed of the lessons of the slang and do everything you can to stay out of harm's way.